onions.
All right, do you want to give us a little riff, Laurie, about how it's good to be back? And
I don't know.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls,
here we
welcome back to the Red Onion Show. I mean, we're absolutely thrilled to be back on your television screens after about 10 decades of being off the air. However, I would like to say warmly on behalf of us all, I hope your spring onions are fresh, your soil is pure, and that the great white onion has blessed you all in these uncertain times. We love you. We will always love you. TY, XOXO.
beautiful. I really couldn't put it better myself.
Yeah, I hope everyone's still got their jobs, holding up well, all of that jazz.
Speaking
live
of
to you on
jobs, fellas,
Chaos
I don't know if this is the right time to bring this up or whatever, but you know that contract cancellation document you both sent me about 4 weeks ago with no explanation. It basically just had my name next to the Red Onion Show, a bunch of X's, like, about 20 pages of like legal reasonings for my removal from something, and then your signatures. I mean, I thought it was a goof, so I just like shredded it and told my assistant to burn the fragments and fling the ashes into the wind. But yeah, just wondering, like, like what's up with faxes?
I mean, I vaguely remember drafting such a document, but given the flat move and just generally going away and getting settled in, it sort of slipped my notice. That, and I think me and Eddie signed equivalent documents after that as well. Yeah, we've been on.
Okay.
Well, I wouldn't say I signed any of those documents. I'm not going to comment on this about my lawyer present, so you can keep asking, but that's my answer.
Eddie might own the podcast then, thereby. All right, well, we'll have to see how this goes down.
Eddie, weren't you my lawyer?
No, my lawyer is Saul Goodman.
Oh, okay. Asian fella, right?
And once again, the world's
Met him in Bournemouth?
Blur.
Jewish, okay.
He's a really, really upstanding citizen, actually.
Cool.
But he operates out of the States, so sometimes it's a bit. He calls me at like 2 a.m. But you got to do what you got to do. Great.
Well, anyway, ladies and gentlemen, it's good to be back. Good to be chatting shit once more. Yeah, I mean, it's been for everyone a bit of a bleak time, global depression. Unfortunately, lots of death going around statistics. So we decided to talk about something very silly and frothy and puerile to get you through the said period. An awards show. It actually just happens to be the award show of death. Yeah, this week we're gonna crack into the Darwin Awards. This is a little reminder, ladies and gentlemen. The Darwin Awards were originally set up on like what seems to be like a very old school Usenet news group discussion in 1985. They were officially recognised as an online awards in 1993, and ever since 1993, they've been posting lists of the most insane, ridiculous deaths that have occurred across the world. The name Darwin being used as this award recognises individuals who have supposedly contributed to human evolution by selecting themselves out of the gene pool. We all have two examples.
Very positive.
Thank you. We all have two examples today to give to you, and yeah, I think Eddie's about to pitch in with his first one.
Yeah, so I want to take you back to 2008. We're talking before Obama was nominated, right? So very early 2008, Bush is still president, the Iraq War still going on. So it's a dark time, and people needed some cheering up. But thankfully, we had Sean from Florida. Obviously, it's a Florida man. So Sean was visiting Pompano Beach, and he was having a few drinks, hitting the sand, hitting the waves, just having a lovely time. And he decides, well, I'm going to leave home. He gets stuck in traffic on his way home. And like anyone stuck in traffic who doesn't go to the toilet before they leave the house, decides he needs to piss. And he's quite desperate. Looks around the car, there's no bottles. Sean's on his own. He thinks, well, I can't possibly just piss on the floor of my car. It's disgusting. So he gets it. So he pulls into the hard shoulder in traffic and just like puts his hazards on. And he goes up to the boundary. It's like a concrete barrier on the side of the road. And he climbs over the barrier and he falls 65 feet to his death because he doesn't look where he's going. And he was on top of a bridge.
Oh.
So yeah, there we go. Apparently Sean did not do much with his life. And I'm guessing never really paid attention to what he was doing, because accidentally jumping off a bridge is pretty silly. Yeah.
That is monumental.
But also Florida.
Obliviousness.
I mean, so apparently he was a bridge going over a railway line. So like he jumped onto like train tracks, but died on impact. Thankfully, wasn't hit by a train or anything. But it's just like, how can? I mean, you pay attention when you're driving for a start. How do you not, when you jump, how do you not look first? How do you just climb over a wall and walk off it? Like, it's just unbelievable. I can understand you go to the toilet, but not that bad.
Right, I'll get on with my first Darwin Award. This was a Darwin Award winner in 1993. A lawyer, George Hoy, I think his name was, of working at a lawyering firm in Toronto, decided he was showing around interns to the lawyer firm in Toronto Dominion Bank Tower, and he was demonstrating on the 24th floor how all the windows in the facility were bulletproof and hardened glass. And I think he was challenged by one of the interns to say, so this glass cannot possibly break. And he said, no, it's bulletproof. And he then proceeded to run and charge at the window at full speed and at full strength. And indeed, the window did not shatter or break, but the holdings came off at the side of the window, and both the window and the man plummeted 24 floors up from Toronto Dominion Tower to their death upon the floor below.
Wow.
I just think, I mean, this is like I don't know, the darkest version of The Office imaginable, because I think if you were there, I mean, you would be horrified and you'd be shocked, but just reading it, I just get the impulse to laugh every time. It's just, this man is proudly demonstrating these unshatterable windows. And in fact, there is a quote from a surveyor on site after the event, I think, who said, where there is in this code of this building's ethics for one of their employees to run at a reinforced window at full speed, I'd like to see it. Because it's just, it's just too good to be true, really. But at the same time, sympathies to Mr. Hoy for his passing away in 1993. His memory will live on in many a Mythbusters and 1,000 Ways to Die show segments.
Yeah. That is incredible.
So I actually heard that. I heard that this guy used to actually do the window trick all the time. So according to the report that I read, he had apparently he'd been doing this trick for quite a while, and even on that day, he'd showed it to the same group or a separate group once before as well. So this was something he liked to do over and over again for some reason, and then eventually it just fucking fell flat on his face, I guess.
Do you think you picked the same window each time? And
every time a little bit of it chipped off.
The holder just got extended that little bit further until one day it's just like you and me with.
It's like a really shit version of Final Destination, and that's saying something.
Or I'm thinking that scene in Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows where Daniel Radcliffe grabs hold of Ray Fiennes and says, "We go together," and they both plummet out at the same time. Maybe that is too much in bad taste. But part of me imagines that happening. All right, Aj, what have you got?
Well, fellas, to kick us off, actually, I would just like to say that my first Darwinian award actually goes to, in a strange twist of fate, my cousin Balra's fourth best friend, Ralston. You see, when Ralston was just a wee pup at the ripe age of 37, he decided his life lacked any sense of meaning or profoundness as the esoterically minded would, right? So one fine summer eve, as himself and Balraj sat in a cellar puffing on menthol cigarettes, he decided he wanted to double Chris Tarrant, the silky cash spider himself, and become a self-made billionaire. So this youngster, this baby, this god with a chip on his shoulder, borrows a few $1,000,000 from his padre, begins investing in the East India Company, only to find that the prick went under over a century ago before he was born. I mean, how the fuck was he supposed to know, right? Anyway, he makes one bad investment decision after another. We're talking Pan American and Eastern Airlines. We're talking Compaq. We're talking Blockbuster after 2010, and we're most certainly talking Coney 2012. After 4 decades of sinking daddy's dough into one failed investment after another, he faces the old man, himself now over 100 years old, on his deathbed, the crestfallen dinosaur praying to the only God he knows to show this lost genius the way. Anyway, the old dirty bastard dies before writing our noble hero out of his will, in which time he accidentally, on a drunken bet, decides to invest all of his father's remaining moolah in something called TikTok, a dating app for young tweens. 10 years later, this young Ralston fella, now a frail old man himself, lies on a deathbed in the Bahamas instead of at his dream house in Santa Fe, and dies of a heart attack at the fledgling age of 89, completely alone. Why? Because menthol fucking cigarettes, my friend. If he had the cojones to switch to regulars or dank kush with the same streaming passion with which he pursued his successful investment career, would he have had kids, a few more years in the bank, perhaps a house in Santa Fe or the fucking Bahamas due to the millions he would have saved on menthol packs? What an idiot. Ladies and gentlemen, Ralston, my cousin's 4th best friend and winner of the Darwin Awards. Thank you.
Can I just say, that was a beautiful tale. But Ajay, do you mind reminding the audience what you studied for your master's degree?
Sorry, I think I'll need you to rephrase the question.
As a side note, I would just like to say that is an unconfirmed Darwin Award winner.
But if it is,
if you're calling my cousin Balraj a liar.
Well, if he's dead, he won't be able to say anything, surely.
No, Balraj is still alive and kicking. He's 105 years old, but he's doing pretty chill for an old fella.
Can I just say, I don't know how I'm going to follow up from that magnificent tale, but I'm going to give it a go.
And
so this is a 2010 Darwin Award winner. So again, another American, obviously. I feel like the only winners should really be Americans. This one takes place in Kentucky, and so Kalita she's in her Chevy. She's going down a country road. And she's going pretty quick. Americans like to speed in their Chevy. And she's going very, very high speed. She's got the top down. She's enjoying herself, and she's with a friend in the passenger seat. And they decide, wouldn't it be great if we swapped? So I didn't have to drive. And then so Kalita's like, yeah, let's swap. She gets this idea in her head. And rather than park the car and get out and swap, she decides her friend puts their foot on the pedal, and then Kalita climbs over them to swap seats. They're going to swap while the car's still in motion, going up probably 70, 80, 90, 100 miles an hour. Unfortunately, Kalita
and her foot on the pedal, right? So you're consistently accelerating.
Yeah.
Especially when you don't have control and you're moving.
She's keeping the speed going. Her friend grabs the wheel.
Sake, man.
Her friend grabs the wheel, right? But Kalita lifts herself up.
And I'm guessing Jesus doesn't take the wheel in this situation. Right?
Well, I think the problem is, Ajay, gravity takes the wheel, and she ends up going up, and then as she climbs over her friend, because the top's down, gets blown back at 80 miles an hour, crashes into the sides of the road, instant death. Her friend, thankfully, manages to get control of the car, but then he gets pulled over. He obviously calls this in. He's like, oh my God, my friend's just died. The police show up, and because he operated the vehicle, and he's A, not insured on the car, but B, doesn't even have a driving license, he was arrested. So there we go. So her plan was, this woman is something special. Her plan was going at a very high speed on an empty road, while the car's in motion and the top's down, go up, and then just sit in the other seat. It's just, it beggars belief. There you go. R.I.P. Worthy winner of the 2010 awards.
I think that's also one of the few awards on the site which managed to get their partner or the witness next to them arrested after the event of their death. That's quite impressive. Yeah.
So he wasn't arrested for her murder, but
No,
I mean, you can't drive without.
no, it's
Especially at
incidental, and
80,
it's
90
kind of
miles an hour.
incidental, and it's just a fuckery because it's just like how can you do that? Like, I was trying to save my life, and now I'm going to get arrested for it. But yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
damn. Well,
Absolutely insane.
yes. So this is my second and final Darwin Award mention. It's the 1999 winner, but I really just think the name of the story does the whole thing justice. Killer Whale Rodeo. So in 1999, July, in Florida, no less, again, Florida man strikes back, a naked man was found dead on the back of a killer whale at a SeaWorld in Orlando on Tuesday morning. And he was either a victim of drowning or hypothermia, it's not fully established. No signs of trauma, he wasn't chewed or dismembered. He looked like possibly the victim had been dragged along the bottom of the tank. His story is quite something. He was identified as a weed-smoking drifter named Daniel. The South Carolina native carried a tattered Florida DMV card, and the police had traced the address on the card to a Hare Krishna temple in Miami. Indeed, there was a priest around the time who could provide insight into Daniel's month-long stay with the community of 6 worshippers. He had a great love for nature, writing in his journal, and feeding wild birds in the temple garden. But Daniel had a difficulty adjusting to the religion's 4 a.m. wake-up time, their dietary prohibitions, and their abstinence from drugs, sex, and gambling. He preferred to dodge work and meditate in the chapel, listening to heavy metal music. I mean, just reading this off, I'm getting a perfect description and build-up of an absolute arse hat. Just kind of like a really like a Florida Ajay in many ways, but like really.
You know what?
Really
I saw
bad.
that coming, so it doesn't hurt as much as it should.
No, but the thing is, you are smart than this guy, clearly. But you have some of. I could imagine you having some of the behavioural characteristics of this guy. But no. Let us continue.
Okay.
Daniel unexpectedly announced that he was taking a vow of silence, which puzzled the Hare Krishnas since their religion does not urge its members to be silent. He left abruptly in the spring, saying, "I want to be free. I want to be travelling around." Again. Daniel left a string of petty offences throughout South Carolina, Washington, Texas, and Florida. Just days before his death, he completed a 3-day sentence to the Indian River County Jail for stealing a Three Musketeers candy bar from the 7-Eleven. He resumed his vow of silence in court. The suspect could not.
I fucking love this guy.
I know. The story is amazing. The suspect could not speak, a Vero beach officer reported, so instead he used paper and pen to deny the charge. And 3 days later, this is when the event happened. This is the day of reckoning for Daniel. 3 days later, our intrepid stoner gained admittance to SeaWorld and loitered near the whale pools until 10 p.m. closing, evading the 24-hour security. After stripping to his bathing trunks, he scaled a 3-foot plexiglass barrier, crossed a short stone wall, and climbed into Tilcomb, which is the name of the killer whale in the killer whale enclosure, frigid enclosure using steps. An employee spotted Daniel's nude form draped just below Tillicum's dorsal fin at 7:35 a.m. His swimming shorts had been found elsewhere in the tank. Tillicum apparently tried to remove his shorts with the razor-sharp teeth. The nature lover left few clues about his state of mind when he tried to commune with the carnivore the size of a bus. A joint was found inside his pile of clothes, but no admission ticket to SeaWorld. Anonymous park workers made a surprise announcement that this was not the first time Daniel had tried to communicate with sea mammals. 2 years ago, they recalled that he jumped into the manatee tank, which is filled with warmer water and less offensive creatures. These are a few notes about the killer whale in question. He is called Tillicum the killer whale. He's the largest killer whale in captivity at the SeaWorld at 22 feet and 11,000 pounds. He is described as, he is considered dangerous.
7,000.
Is Tillicum still alive? Because I remember
Um,
Tillicum being the subject of the Blackfish documentary, right?
I could not confirm that. This happened in 1999, so if he was 8 years old then and he's a whale, you can safely assume that he's still alive.
Yeah, it must be.
But ultimately, lots of whales at sea will die early, right? Because they get dorsal fin collapse and stuff. Because obviously they're fucking entrapped there.
Biologists said that he probably played with Daniel like a toy without realizing that he was a fragile human being. Tilikum is a fecund marine
This guy
predator
is
and the sire of 4 calves born during his breeding stay in Florida. In a comparison between Tilikum and Daniel, it is clear who is higher on the evolutionary scale. As a little NB in the post-credit, Trey and Sean Cusack send this update. Radio K-Bus Texas reported that Daniel's family, out of contact with him for 6 years, sued SeaWorld over his death, contending that they depict a killer whale as a cute, cuddly animal, and it did not take enough precautions to keep Daniel out of the tank. Trey adds, I figured you'd be interested in the update as it kind of shows that stupidity is inherited. I mean, that's an amazing...
that is brilliant. That's probably the best one I've seen. I've read through quite a few, but I missed that one.
I mean, it was always going to
pretty
attract me
brilliant.
because of the marine life angle. I was always going to go for that, but as it just went like this man's life taking into shape, I think this should make a documentary or maybe a feature-length film one day called Once Upon a Time in Florida. Because I mean, this is gold.
I'm surprised that hasn't been a thing yet, but I have little to no doubt that once the dust is settled and his family maybe cares a bit less, someone will totally do that, you know? Because like everything leading up to it as well makes such a great story. Like even without that ending, right? Just the thought of having a narrative with a character that, you know, that joins a Hare Krishna cult only to like skip out on most of their rules and like jam to death metal whilst meditating. It's like
while they were working, exactly. He ran into the chapel to listen to heavy metal. There is nothing about this story I don't like. And I just...
Yeah, the guy's brilliant.
I'm completely with you. This is Laurie. Not only did this guy win the Darwin Awards, I think he's won the podcast.
Yeah,
I think
he has.
Can we just say that this episode is in memory of Daniel and everything that he represents?
And stood for.
It would be a dumber world. It would be a more interesting one.
He knew that it was his time. And he must have known as soon as he jumped into that water and that killer whale ran on him, was like, fuck, this is it. But they will remember that. I will never be forgotten.
Interesting. No, that was fantastic. That's actually going to be a really tough one to follow myself, you know?
Here we go.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I was struggling to think of my second choice Darwin Awards. I mean, old Ralston, bless his soul, may he rest in peace and all of that, is a tough act to follow. Your story about Tilikum even more so. However, in the spirit of the story you've just shared, I'm going to take us on a fairly similar route. So, Dr. Eric Ritter was a Swiss shark expert with a doctorate and countless hours of experience swimming with sharks. He made many a documentary with the Discovery Channel and specialized in the more dangerous side of sharks, so bull sharks, great whites, and so on and so forth. Now, a little known fact about Dr. Eric Ritter, I actually chat shit, this was a very well-known fact about him, is that he was a man that was really into the esoteric arts. I'm talking yoga, I'm talking meditation, I'm talking kundalini and all of that good stuff. So he came up with a theory, right, that if he practiced yoga techniques in the water and controlled his breathing, there was no way that a shark, even if he was bleeding out, would attack him or try to kill him or try to eat him. So what did he do to test this hypothesis? For this Discovery Channel documentary, he basically had his crew place him in the water whilst he was practicing yoga techniques in order to protect themselves from the sharks. And they started throwing bits of flesh, bits of fish, bits of blood all around him, creating a thick, crazed pool of chaos all around this meditating man. And of course, the sharks went into a frenzy. Now, as he was in there, armed, so he wasn't even in any protective gear or anything. He was literally just using yoga techniques to protect himself. A little fish that was being chased by a bull shark swam past him, and of course, the bull shark took a huge chunk out of his leg. Dr. Eric Ritter started bleeding out, but was luckily actually saved by his crew, and his life was saved at a nearby hospital after amputations and surgery and so on and so forth. To this day, Dr. Eric Ritter claims that the only reason this experiment failed is because visibility in the water was poor due to all the blood involved. He claims that his yoga techniques, which act as a shield against aggressive shark behavior, will still hold, and he hopes to practice this again someday.
Yoga techniques work on dogs; they don't work on sharks. It's how I've moralized.
Well, Eric Ritter, Eric Ritter would argue otherwise.
Yeah, and he also got a chunk out of his leg removed. So I think I know which whose opinion I'll be valuing. Fuck his doctorate.
So he didn't quite die, but I thought that was quite a special one,
Yeah.
because it takes a very special person to go in and try that, but also a very special person to do it and then completely deny the fact that the experiment proved that sharks were dangerous to be around.
Gotta have
Claiming that
belief.
there's nothing but visibility.
You've got to have absolute belief in what you do, even though it could fuck up in the most outlandish and craziest of ways.
Well, people say this, right? But that's kind of what the Republican belief system is based on. They just believe it no matter what. Like, you can throw in all the evidence around climate change and and economics to them, but it's fine. Like, you just believe in your party politics.
That also works on the cynical system of believe and project in equal measure.
Yeah, no, it's a really good story. So, I mean,
great story. Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's a shame he didn't die, because obviously I don't want anyone to die. But in the spirit of the Darwin Awards, it would have been nice if he died, because he was pretty silly for someone with a doctorate.
He got incredibly lucky. Yeah.
Yes, incredibly lucky. Almost like he was wearing plot armor or something.
I guess in a way, if we're rounding off our recounting of Darwin Award stories, it's kind of nice to end on one who actually did survive, because it sort of breathes in a little bit of positivity towards the end.
Yeah.
Mind you, I say
A little less dark.
We mention these examples we do with love, genuinely. I feel affection for both of the unfortunate recipients of these awards for both of my choices. I don't think we're laughing at these individuals too much. I mean, they certainly left their mark on humanity, put it that way, in more ways than we have currently. And given that humanity is such an obsession with the worst of our crimes, it's kind of funny to hear us go out on whoopee cushion notes as well.
Yeah, it's not. I think as long as they're Americans, I don't feel
doesn't
bad.
count. Doesn't count.
All right. Yeah, so we have decided, in fact, the internal PC board of the Red Onion has taken issue with us and demonstrated that we need a positive slant to offset the generally negative tone of the Scumion of the week. So we decided to come up with the Onion recommends, or as I like to think of it, Onion select.
Yeah, why not?
I'd like to know what an onion select tastes like as well. This is where we're going to recommend one TV show, one piece of culture, one nice activity to do, just your general what went right for you this week, which you want to keep doing.
Yeah, sure.
I'm happy to start if you guys would.
Yeah, Ajay, you go first.
Thanks, man. Like, I'm not sure if you guys have really heard about this, right? Because it's quite new. But you know that like horoscope stuff that everyone's been talking about recently?
As in the fact that there are horoscopes.
Yeah. Like, but recently it's like really taking off. It's like this. Okay, basically, just bear with me because it's a little bit like woo-woo or whatever. But like, it's pretty cool. Like, basically, it's been proved scientifically that like if you were born at a certain time of year, there's a specific like constellation that connects to you or something like that. And like, sure, dudes, like I get it. I was a bit skeptical myself as well. But then like after like further reading and exploration and like like scientific studies and all of that, it's pretty interesting, man. It's like if you're born at a certain time of year, you connect to the constellation Sagittarii, and that like determines like what your personality around certain groups of people is like, what kind of food you crave on a certain day of the week, what your dating life's like. I am a Gemini, and I only found this out 3 days ago, but I'm incredibly proud to be one, and it's kind of explained every single set of events that's led me to where I am now. So look, is it like slightly scientifically dubious? Like perhaps, but isn't anything. Like, I mean, we don't know for sure that the climate is changing, right? Like there's always that sense of doubt, but there's enough evidence to show that this stuff is good for us. And my cultural phenomena and Onion recommends is this new horoscope stuff. So yeah, hope you guys enjoy checking it out.
So you're recommending horoscopes?
We started this segment in good faith, and he's already just gassed all over.
It's been sullied. It's been massively sullied. Okay, we're gonna.
Why did we ever let him be the first one to go first? Okay, so that was Ajay with horoscopes.
Can I
like them? Did he just want to talk about them for 2 minutes?
Just quickly, if I may. So anyone listening, any of our, 3 or 4 loyal fans, if you are into horoscopes and you're sitting there at home and Ajay's recommendation is entrenched your view, he is taking the piss out of you. I just want to make sure you're aware of that. Okay.
That's
Fine.
pretty fucking horrible. Rude, mean, inconsiderate, wildly unscientific.
We're going to move on to an
Eds, you'll be hearing from my lawyer by the end of play tomorrow. And also, Eds, I'm going to need you to write a letter on my behalf before the end of play tomorrow. Thank you.
Definitely don't have a lawyer. So my selection for select this week, I started watching last week Trailer Park Boys, which this is great. I mean, it's very silly and it's quite nicely of its time. This is 2003 when they started, so it's using the mockumentary, fake documentary style, which The Office really I mean, obviously Spinal Tap invented, but obviously The Office brought into next level in the early 2000s. This is following the same format, but it follows the lives of 2 petty criminals who live in a trailer park in Canada and their exploits in trying to hustle for some money, being continually stalked by the inept local trailer park county security team. And what's really nice, I mean, I'm already going to give you a slight little spoiler, but they somehow managed to always end back in jail. It's just one of those sort of like fun, offbeat, like just ridiculous comedies, which is clearly filmed on a limited budget, but manages to do a lot with it, and leaves you with funny characters who do stick in the mind. It's great. It is really. It's like, and it's just a nice it's a nice one to watch, particularly after like shit day at work.
Nice. Yeah, no, it sounds good. It sounds very. You've recommended this to me in person, and now you've recommended it to our audience as well. But because I've heard it twice, I feel almost obliged to watch it.
Yeah, so now there's no excuses. We'll probably watch at least one episode when you come round.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, I'm up for that. Cool. So I guess it's up to me now to recommend something. So I'm going to do, if I may, 2, but I'll do them both quickly. So the first thing I'm going to recommend to you is, depending on what, so on the 4th of September, the Boys, the TV show The Boys, season 2 is coming out. So this is available on Amazon. I mean, would would recommend you steal this rather than give Jeff Bezos money like I do. But the show is fantastic. It's about superheroes, but there's a whole industry around them, and the whole idea of the nugget that this was born out of was, if you were a superhuman and you had powers and you had fame and you had money and you could basically do anything, what kind of person would you be, or non-person would you be, and how would that change the world around you, and what sort of things would happen? So season 1 was very, very good. I really liked it. I watched season 1 and then started reading the comics after that. I finished the comics a few weeks ago in preparation for season 2. So now I know what's coming and I'm very excited for season 2. I think it's going to be even better than season 1. Highly recommend you watch it. Like, it's like really top drawer show. Like, I'd put it, if not 5-star, very close to, like, really good. So yeah, The Boys. But then also, just so not all of our recommendations or serious recommendations of visual media, I'd like to recommend, for those of you who live in London, Brighton and Leeds, there's this little restaurant that I am aware of called Meat Liquor. I've been there like once or twice now. I went yesterday actually, and I realized that Meat Liquor has done something to my serotonin receptors, in that I'm only actually happy every time I'm eating it. And like everything in between is just this gray blur, life kind of just happens. And then in between these moments where life is happening, I'm in a Meat Liquor. I'm having my first monkey finger, which is like these saucy battered chicken pieces. And
I feel like we're going to kill off half of our listeners during Eddie's recommendation right now. But please go on and pitch.
No, that's it. That was it. I just wanted to say it's brilliant. Eat it. You'll be happier for it.
No, that wasn't an insult against your delivery at all. That was more just remarking on the fact that maybe half of the listenership are vegetarian or vegan.
So can I just add, right? So Meat Liquor do quite a good, decent amount of vegan options. So they have a vegan burger, they have vegan sides.
Reckon amount of vegan options.
Most of their fries. Like, it's very, and I've had most, if not, I think, no, they've changed up the vegan options, so I haven't had all of them. But there was a point where I had, and I would be happy not eating meat there. I've taken vegetarians to meat liquor and they've been very happy. Not as happy as I've been, but I mean, you're talking about going from a 10 out of 10 experience to like a 9 out of 10, you know? Like, fuck it. It's delicious. Do yourself a favor. Yeah, London, Brighton, and Leeds.
All right, everybody. We have now on the Red Onion Network have a little time for a music segment. It's No Why I'm Talking in a very obscene and irritable, ultra smooth radio DJ voice. This is going to be the dulcet tones of a new up and coming band, the Daylight Francis, with their a cappella hit number 1, the King Kong song. Take it away.
King Kong.
King Kong.
King Kong.
King Kong.
King Kong.
King Kong. King Kong. King Kong.
He's a gorilla.
King Kong.
King Kong.
Misunderstood.
Kong.
King Kong.
King
King Kong.
Songs
King.
King Kong.
in his jungle hood.
King Kong.
Kong.
King
He's
Kong.
a gorilla.
King Kong.
Kong. King.
King
Smoking some crack.
King Kong.
King Kong.
King Kong.
He's a gorilla.
King Kong.
His song is whack.
King Kong.
King Kong.
Kong.
King Kong.
King Kong.
King Kong.
King Kong.
King Kong.
Kong.
Great bong.
King Kong.
Kong.
Puff it, don't smoke
King
it.
Kong. The King Kong song.
Thank you for listening.
Wow,
ladies
I
and
can't
gentlemen.
believe
Truly
what I just
appreciate
heard.
it.
That was phenomenal. What did you say that band was called, Laurie? They were excellent. How did we book them?
The Daylight Francis, they did short-term bookings actually, and were happy to play without instruments, which is quite convenient, I presume.
They were brilliant. That genuinely brought tears to my eyes. So
And we will
thank
hear
you for booking
later
them in,
from
Laurie.
them, coming up from hits later this year. Things like The Penguin Has Landed and The Godfather of Teeth. So yeah, I'll be looking forward to hearing more of their singles as time goes on.
Very excited. So I'm sorry, I've been a bit taken aback by that beautiful sound we just heard. I have a sudden urge to watch a monster film as well. Not sure why.
Yeah, I'm
Neither
thinking
do I, but I totally dig that.
Skull Island, or maybe even the original Godzilla, even though we did just sing about King Kong. Mighty Joe Young.
Cool. So that was quite a beautiful little thing. I think up next we have the Scumion of the Week.
We do. We're going to have to get a jingle for him. So far we've got a title card, but as the show goes on, we will need a jingle for Mr. Scumion.
Mr. Scumion.
Scumion.
We can play around with that. It shouldn't be too hard to come up with something distinctive for him. Does anyone have a suggestion for their Scumion? Or yeah?
I've got 3, but who wants to go first?
Given that you've got 3, I think you should start.
Okay, so all of these 3 happened in the Isle of Wight, and I will go quickly between the first 2 because they were annoying and they all sort of culminated. We had a great time down there actually. Got to go to Shankenshire twice. Went to the beach quite a few times. Great walks, but you know, people on holiday can be, you know, you can rub each other up the wrong way in the hot baking sunshine. So the first event happened when we had finished the walk in Shankenshire and we were at this pub called the Fisherman's Cottage, which is on Shankton Beach facing the sea. And it was a really good lunch. I think I had a ciabatta, turkey ham and some good spinach and all that. Actually, it was nothing of the sort, but it was a good ciabatta. And anyway, and behind us were just quite a loud, like 2 loud kids and parents who clearly didn't give a shit. I couldn't really see them because I was facing Laura from the opposite way, but from what I was told, they were clearly not giving a shit about what they were doing, getting up to. Anyway, I know this may well have been a condition, so I don't want to sound too harsh, but just one of the children just could not stop farting, and it just got distracting further and further into a nice lunch meal, until one point I had to turn around and go, Christ, because she like 4 on the go, and you know, you can only take so much in a situated area. The second happened later, on Friday, in and around the same area, at the exit of Shankenshire, which is just an exit. It's a turnstile exit you can't get in through. And as we're walking out, two parents and their child came up the other side and was like, is that the entrance? Is that the entrance? Is that the entrance? And bearing in mind, we're trying to distance at the moment. We were just like, no, it's the exit. It's the exit. You need to go back. Are you sure? Is that the entrance? So it's an unnecessarily 2 minute, 3 minute long conversation. All the time they're edging further towards, like tentatively towards where we've just come from. We're trying to tell them it's a fucking exit. And we're getting stressed out about the fact that they're just ignoring distancing rules. But number one has to go to, and this just hurt me. Basically, near where our place was in the Isle of Wight, there's a nice tunnel called Undermount, and inside it are sort of alcoves where you can put tea lights and have, like, when it's nighttime, when you drive back through the tunnel, it's all lit up for you. Anyway, it was a really windy night, so most of them went out anyway. But we had one which we just hid at the far back of the tunnel towards the right, which managed to go far underneath enough to not blow out. And it was just really, really nice to see it still lit when we drove back through. Little did I know, some shit who clearly lived close by just walked down the tunnel as we were, we got out the car, we were walking back up to take out the electric lights. We saw our light, and this kid just walked by and just thought, I'm going to do it. Blew it out and walked off without a moment's notice. Did he like that?
Nonce.
Little shit. I mean, it was just the thing is, I was probably going to put it out anyway, but that's for me to do, not you. Like it. Oh,
Yeah.
Can I point out to our listeners after that little segment that this podcast is actually prescribed therapy for Laurie, and it's good for him to get this off his chest. But yeah. I have to agree with you on all of those. Those are all worthy Scumions. Like, just blowing out someone else's candle full stop. It's just like irritating. Just like,
you don't blow out another person's candle, especially if you didn't light it. I mean, it's just it was really inconsiderate. But hey, he looked about like 16, so it's just the age of being shit. So really, I mean, I don't think I consciously did shit things like that all the time when I was a kid. But hey, it's boring.
And I definitely did similar vibe sorts of things, but I never did that specific kind of thing. You know?
That's just a dickhead.
So I can understand why he's done it. But, like, I was a dick back then. He's a dick then. So.
Yeah.
I think the kid farting is horrific. That is like, that's got
really. We had to go, but in the end, I managed to laugh about it because I was having 2 pints of Kronenberg, and like I was up to a level where I could just sort of laugh at it. And then Eric Clapton, "Wonderful Tonight" came on, and we made a big like song and dance about downing I downed my drink because it's like no way am I sitting next to a farting family and Eric Clapton's just come. "Wonderful Tonight's" just come out. That is the one-way ticket to get the fuck out of there.
That sounds like a life-affirming moment. Right?
It's a moment.
I don't know if I have a Scumion for this specific week. I mean, I'm still angry about the same things. I have missed the rain, so my Scumion is definitely not British weather. Because like fucking hell, that heat. I'm still like traumatized by that heat wave we had for like 5 days. That was horrific.
I miss it so much.
Never slept so badly in my life. Like, and now it's like I go to sleep, I leave the window open, I can hear the rain. It's beautiful.
Well, the constant
there is
like,
something
kind of cloudy.
So there's a term for that, right? I believe it's called chrysalis. That feeling of being stuck indoors whilst there's a rain or a thunderstorm outside, and feeling like a really strange sense of deep contentment. And it's a feeling we can all relate to, right?
I always
it's the same in the winter.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
With the cold, and if you're not lucky enough to have a stove and you can light a fire and like keep warm inside, it's the same feeling of yes, we're sort of, it's nice to protect yourself from the elements.
Comfortable.
It's really the purpose of that. It's the main, that's where houses come in the most handy. They're always handy for shelter, put it that way. But it's not like it can feel oppressive being inside when it's really, really hot. Whereas when it's like cold, it's lovely. It's lovely to keep warm inside. But and also just like Britain and the heat, they don't. I mean, you want it to be nice, like sunny days. And don't get me wrong, we do.
Like 26 though. 26 is.
We have good
36
days,
is horrible.
There's always a bit of an atmosphere going on, and on the days where it's cloudy and it's hot, God, it's just a horrible sticky mess.
Yeah.
Because like the country can't deal with it. It doesn't matter.
It gets too because it's an island, and the way the climate operates around the shores of Britain, it just gets way too humid anywhere, especially in London, because all the tall buildings like trap the heating.
Yeah.
So I live relatively centrally, and like it's just boiling at street level, like boiling. It's like walking through mist, like hot mist. I hate it.
Muggy.
Oh.
Yeah, it's not fun.
Yeah, so I'm staring out the window right now, looking at the rain, and I'm so happy.
Well, it's always nice when the atmosphere just clears up, even if it is rain or if it's like
Yeah,
bright
something to
sunshine.
break
When the
it up.
when you feel like it's been cleared out. We are coming live to you as the weathermen. Hashtag say.
Yeah, fuck. I mean, it took a few episodes, but we're finally doing it. We're a couple of Brits talking about the weather. Christ.
Yeah.
Wow.
Scumming of the week turn is the
Exciting
person.
that. Ajay, do you have a nomination for Scumming of the Week? I mean, I think the farting child wins it, to be honest. But you could nominate someone.
You know what? I've been meeting nothing but wonderful people recently. So it's kind of hard for me to actually pick a Scumion of this week. However, you know what? I guess I have one. This happened a little while ago, but this guy definitely takes the cake for Scumion in Prague, with my experience thus far anyway. So a couple of weeks ago, myself and a couple of friends were out having lunch. Two of us left after the other stayed inside to use the bathroom. And my friend that was with me, he's half Asian, but he looks white, you know. And I'm sure you guys can see where this is going just by the fact that I've had to bring race into it. So this guy that I can only describe as Czech Gammon, right? So he's about maybe about 5'2", 5'1", stout, mid-50s, bald, really furrowed brow, comes up to me and starts screaming in Czech. And I'm there like, sorry, man, don't, I say Anglishtina, don't speak Czech, don't speak Czech. And he's not having any of it. He starts pointing at me, like basically smacking into my shirt with his finger and pointing at my pocket and asking me for something. So I'm like, sorry, man, don't understand. Take a couple of steps back. He pulls out his wallet, pulls out his citizen's ID and points at it, right? So this man is basically asking me for my documentation to show that I am either a Czech citizen or legally living there because I'm a brown guy. And I'm a bit like, whoa, what the fuck? I'm like, I tried to gesture saying, are you police or something? And he doesn't care. He's basically like trying to grab my pockets and he's like, show me your documents in Czech. And I basically say, no, I'm not doing that. Then he looks at me angrily and he makes a handcuff signal on his own wrists, right? And he's basically making a citizen's arrest. And I say no. He grabs my arm and starts dragging me across the street. And mind you, this is a pretty strong dude. Starts literally dragging me across the street, screaming at me, saying that he's going to take me to the police station because I'm refusing to show him my passport or any other documents. And obviously, like, I push him away and break free. And my friend also at this point is like, so my friend's also been kind of talking back to this guy and trying to sort the situation out. But obviously he can't speak Czech either, so there's nothing he can really do. And after a while, I'm like, dude, let's just leave it. And we cross the street and go to the other end, right? Where this guy won't, so he doesn't follow us across the street, but he stands on the other side just screaming and waving his fists and all of that. So yeah, a super racist Czech dude tried to make me feel like I didn't belong in the city and tried to drag me to the police station because of the color of my skin. That man is unfortunately going to be my Scumion of the week because fuck him.
Yeah.
Why unfortunately? I mean, it sounds like a pretty good Scumion. I guess
it's a great Scumion. I just wish the situation never happened. You know,
I think
it left me feeling weird for about a day after.
Sure.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's horrific. I mean, it's so overt.
You know, but it's like any kind of gammon, you know, it's just like a bunch of like, honestly, this is a massive generalization, but so gammon is a term, quite a derogatory term, but fuck it, is a term used to describe like, you know, like white, middle-aged, like bald, angry British men in the British heartland who are strong Brexiteers, hate immigrants, all of that good stuff. You know, they've been fucked over by globalization and terrible regulation. Yeah, but they still vote Conservative because they don't have the fucking brains to realize that it's those policies that have fucked them over. Anyway, cool, gammon. Yep. I'd say fry them up, don't even eat them, just chuck them out.
Yeah. No,
yeah, fuck him. Really sorry about that. I mean, it's so
it's all right. It's all right.
I don't know who the Czech Nigel Farage is, but you should have words with him. Tell him that he's a very naughty boy.
Yeah,
he is a very naughty boy.
Also, I mean, yeah, there's always more going on. It's like it's really sad when you see people like that. I mean, obviously they're like shitheads, right? And we don't need these sorts of people.
But I completely agree with you.
Yeah, it's never
there's
like
often personal
one
or
isolated thing. Yeah.
socio-political reasons for why X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, yeah.
Completely. I'm only
They get
reacting
completely
emotionally
isolated.
because that situation triggers an emotional response because I lived through it.
Yeah, sure.
But
No.
But
Like,
rationally, I
you
completely.
should,
You're right. It's not your job to sort of like exactly, to philosophize or like to
you should
make
react
excuses
to
for
it.
him. It's like it's his
Right.
fault for projecting that bullshit onto
You
you.
don't have to apologize for it.
However,
So
I think it is important as well to reflect and understand that there are causes, right? And it's not like
yeah, of
this.
course.
It's just something that appears because he's a bad guy or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the problem is, yeah, he is a bad guy, but he's been made to be a bad guy.
Yeah.
It's not like he was
And
born
also I would
like,
also just like all our listeners to know that apart from that incident and yeah, you know what, there's been a few more smaller ones, but for the most part I have met nothing but wonderful, wicked, fascinating people in this incredible city. So #visit Prague. That Brant is now turned into an advert. So
yeah, the Onion recommends once more.
once more,
Okay.
people, you should really be paying us for this. It's recommendation after recommendation here.
I feel like I think we need a slight palate cleanser after that, because obviously, you know, that was tough shit, Ajay. Sorry to hear about that. Just a little update on the saga of Minnie and Rosie. Right now, they're obviously, you know, they're both raising their heads to each other.
So for the people who may have forgotten, these are Laurie's guinea pigs.
Yeah.
It's very
And
crucial now. He doesn't have
also incredibly mischievous because they
guinea pig.
also just incredibly mischievous and disruptive because they often drink from their water bottles way too loud, as we've seen in prior court cases had at the Red
And
Island.
Minnie's doing it right now. It's like she knows. Fucking hell. But yeah, I think it was always that Minnie was the dominant force in that partnership. You can tell there's a technique guinea pigs have called rumble strutting, where they walk slowly and make this noise that goes. And whichever one's doing that at the time is imposing their authority on the other. And I noticed it used to be Minnie who did it to Rosie, and now it's Rosie that's doing it to Minnie. So I'm not sure what's going on in front of me, to be honest, but it's just it's interesting to keep tabs on.
What a lovely pair they are.
Yes.
And I think on that note, should we play the King Kong song again to phase it out? Because I think the audience at home loves it as much.
Need to hear it one more time, and obviously we want to do as much help and promotion towards Daylight Francis as we possibly can. We're all
Of course, fellas, we're so glad to have you on board.
and respecters of that band. You know, the greatest a cappella chill out Midwestern set since Hootie and the Blowfish decided to put down their instruments. They have around the same credibility as well. So yes, thanks for joining us for another podcast of the Red Onion, and we have Daylight Francis and the King Kong song to take us away. King Kong,
King Kong,
King Kong, King Kong,
Golden bong,
Kong,
bong bong,
King Kong,
King Kong,
Kong,
King Kong,
King Kong,
Kong,
King Kong, the King Kong song.
Kong.
King
He's
Kong,
not a man.
King Kong,
He's a
King
gorilla.
Kong,
King
He is
King
feeling
Kong,
all kinds of triller.
King Kong,
Beauty killed a
King
beast.
Kong,
T-Rex having a
King
feast.
Kong,
King
Gorilla
King
Kong,
running out of lyrics.
King Kong, King
King Kong,
King Kong, King
King Kong,
Skull Island,
King
more like
Kong.
Dank Island.
Kong, King Kong, King Kong, King Kong,
Golden bone.
King Kong, the King Kong song.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Just stay your normal voice, Ralph.
Okay, but so many identities to me.
The Red Onion, an effervescent look at a deflated world, was recorded by Laurie Briggs, Ajay Gnanam and Eddie Lambton, and is a silly enterprise you've wasted an hour of your lives listening to. Don't be disappointed. You can waste it all over again next Saturday when we discuss a fresh new topic.